Welcome to Blogs and Articles. In this series, we look at blog posts, articles online, and news stories about love, marriage, dating, and relationships. I'll provide some coaching questions for exploration, as I would for a client who is in this situation. Then finally, I'll provide my commentary at the end of just me being myself, unfiltered and unadulterated. Hi, I'm Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible. I help professional Black women who are 35 plus date and partner with more self awareness and intentionality. Check out the links in the description box below to sign up for my next 5-day self awareness and dating challenge. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Welcome. So, in today's blogs and articles, I found this post and I thought it was very relevant to kind of a lot of the challenges and issues going on for women in dating today. So, there is a study that sheds light on how men's ostracism contributes to intimate partner violence. Let's jump into it. Experiences of social exclusion among men are related to instances of intimate partner violence, according to new research published in Sex Roles. The study found that feelings of ostracism are positively associated with what is termed masculine gender role stress, leading to higher instances of intimate partner violence and mental health issues like depression and anxiety. The motivation behind the study stemmed from the persisting issue of gender-based violence, particularly intimate partner violence, despite the traction gained by feminist movements like Me Too and Time's Up in recent years. The World Health Organization reports that a staggering 27% of women and girls globally experience this form of violence. Understanding the underlying causes and psychological mechanisms that lead to intimate partner violence is crucial for developing effective interventions and reducing the prevalence of this pervasive issue. After studying the consequences of ostracism in general, I was interested in looking at how these might be influenced by gender and gender roles, said study author Real Khan, research assistant at the Education University of Hong Kong. Based on what I knew about masculinity and its dependence on others' recognition, I thought that ostracism may pose unique challenges to men through masculine gender role stress and was interested in the consequences these unique challenges may carry. The study recruited participants through Amazon Mechanical Turk. After an initial screening, 311 men from the United States were included in the final sample. The research team employed a series of well-established psychological measures to gather data. Participants rated their experiences of being socially excluded using an adapted version of the workplace ostracism scale. The scale included items like being shut out of conversations or having greetings go unanswered. Masculine gender role stress was measured through the abbreviated masculine gender role stress scale, where participants evaluated how stressful they found situations that threatened traditional masculine roles, such as being outperformed at work by a woman. To assess intimate partner violence, the researchers used the extended hit/insult, threaten, scream scale, which inquired about behaviors like physical harm, threats, or forced sexual acts toward a partner. Lastly, depression and anxiety were measured using established scales that asked about symptoms such as feeling hopeless or anxious. The researchers found that men who reported higher experiences of ostracism also reported greater stress in maintaining their masculine roles. This stress was found to be a significant mediator in the relationship between ostracism and intimate partner violence. In other words, the more men felt excluded or ignored by others, the more likely they were to experience stress related to their masculine identity, which in turn increased the likelihood of them perpetrating violence against their intimate partners. While the results did support all of our predications, I was surprised about how much masculine gender role stress accounted for the relationship between ostracism and intimate partner violence perpetration, Chan told SciPost. This seems to suggest a crucial and very central role of gender expectations in in predicting the outcomes of negative social experiences, the extent of which I did not expect. Furthermore, the study highlighted a direct positive association between experiences of ostracism and mental health issues. Men who felt more ostracized reported higher levels of depression and anxiety. Interestingly, the study also found a serial meditation effect, indicating that the relationships between ostracism and mental health issues was partially due to the combined effects of masculine gender role stress and intimate partner violence perpetration. I think what the average person can take away from this research is a deeper understanding of how gender can play a role in the experience of social events, Chan said. In particular, I had hoped to highlight how the rigidity of certain gender roles and expectations could influence the everyday experience of ostracism to predict highly prevalent and severe negative outcomes. Despite these significant findings, the study is not without its limitations. One major constraint in its cross-sectional nature, which restricts the ability to establish casual relationships. The study's reliance on self-reported measures also raises concerns about the accuracy and the honesty of the responses. Additionally, the focus of a predominantly Western US-based sample limits the generalizability of the findings to other cultural contexts. Further research can test whether various male identities, e.g., feminist identity, gender identity, sexual orientation, can buffer against the relationships established in this research to prevent intimate partner violence, perpetration, and harmful mental health concerns. Chan said, subsequent research could also test whether other factors such as anger or self-esteem can explain the relationships between ostracism, intimate partner violence, perpetration, and poor mental health beyond masculine gender role stress to better understand how this relationship may unfold. This study, the unmanliness of ostracism, the role of masculine gender role stress, and intimate partner violence in men's mental health, was authored by Real S.W. Chan and K. Tak Poon. Moving on to some questions for reflection. These are coaching questions that I would pose to a client in a similar situation to the article that I just read. Grab a fresh pen and a notebook and answer these coaching questions truthfully and fully in order to go deeper on your own journey to greater self-awareness when it comes to dating and relationships. Question 1. What steps can be taken to address and reduce the impact of social exclusion on masculine gender role stress and its subsequent effects on intimate partner violence? Question 2. How can mental health professionals integrate the findings of this study into therapeutic interventions for men experiencing ostracism and masculine gender role stress? Now, side note, I know most of you who are listening to this are not clinicians, so just kind of think about if you are with someone who is having these challenges, your partner was facing ostracism, what do you think would be maybe useful for you to discuss that when they got therapy, because they need it, to help really combat, prevent any chances of intimate partner violence happening in your relationship? So just think of things you would speak about with your partner's therapist if they were facing these circumstances. Question 3. When considering the significant correlation between ostracism, masculine gender role stress, and intimate partner violence, what preventative measures can communities and institutions implement to foster inclusivity and reduce these instances? Now, to be clear, this is not about putting the fault or the whole responsibility of men dealing with their own social anxieties, issues, ability to make friends, etc., them taking initiative. This is more a question from the perspective of if a man is doing his part and seeking out the resources to help him, and he's feeling ostracized, what are some preventative measures that you feel would be useful for different institutions to implement, etc. So this is not about fault or someone else's responsibility. This is totally the man's responsibility to pursue said resources. We grown folks over here, okay? Question 4. Where can men who recognize the negative impacts of social exclusion and masculine gender role stress in their lives find support and resources to address these issues before they escalate to intimate partner violence? Like I said in the last question, men have to take the initiative to this. This is more so a question to prompt you to think about what can be available, what can be made available, how this topic can be broached to help maybe a man that you're dating or married to who is facing some type of ostracism or isolation to prevent any intimate partner violence, because we don't do that over here. We don't tolerate that over here. Question 5. How might educational programs be designed to challenge and expand traditional notions of masculinity in order to mitigate the stress associated with maintaining these roles, thereby reducing the risk of intimate partner violence? And this could be, of course, education in schools, but more so, this is education or things made available for adults. It would be great if this could be taught in a K through 12 situation, but more so resources that young men and even 25 and up men can really go and embrace to learn more about their own mental health, impacts of social, isolation or ostracism, and the link between that and intimate partner violence. Let's jump into one of my favorite parts of the videos for my blogs and article series, and that's where I just offer you my thoughts on the article or blog post that I just read. So masculine gender role stress refers to the stress experienced by men when they feel unable to conform to or perform traditional masculine roles and expectations. These traditional roles often emphasize traits such as dominance, emotional restraint or emotional unavailability, self-reliance, physical strength, and the avoidance of anything perceived as feminine. This stress arises when men perceive these roles as being challenged when they fear failing to meet these societal expectations. Does this sound familiar, ladies? Like men who can't take rejection. This is a great example of what clinicians would call, or these researchers, based on this article, masculine gender role stress. So they feel a challenge to their own masculinity based upon someone not wanting their advances. So according to research published in Sex Roles and similar journals, this stress can contribute to negative outcomes, including mental health issues and behaviors such as aggression or, as the article was talking about, intimate partner violence, as men might resort to these behaviors in an effort to assert their masculinity or cope with feelings of inadequacy or, guess what, rejection. Now, I'm really bothered by this shit because one of the main things that women have to combat today is a new content that is honestly causing men brain rot, in my opinion. The red pill manosphere content. So the red pill ideology and broader manosphere content encompasses a variety of online communities and messages that critique feminine or feminist perspectives, promote traditional gender roles, and often emphasize male superiority and traditional masculinity. So the content can vary widely from advice on self-improvement and masculinity to more extreme views that are misogynistic and anti-feminist. The term red pill itself is actually, just side note, comes from the movie The Matrix, symbolizing a choice. Remember when Neo could choose the red pill or the blue pill? It symbolizes choice to recognize and confront harsh truths about society, gender, and interpersonal relationships. So one of the things that I noticed when I was reading through the article was the link between these two concepts, at least in my eyes, of masculine gender role stress and red pill manosphere content, because if a man already has high levels of masculine gender role stress, could be due to ostracism, could be due to what he perceives he's not the ideal of traditionally masculine, especially based upon his looks or abilities. And then he's feeding in and listening to this red pill content bullshit. He's probably a ticking time bomb. And I think that's where a lot of incels come from, or this incel mindset where they just hate women. There's no self-awareness or self-reflection. But let me just get into some points that I think about when reading through, when I was reading through this article about the link between the two. So one of the first links that I can see is a validation of traditional masculinity. So manosphere content often seeks to affirm traditional masculine ideals that are in line with the pressures contributing to masculine gender role stress. This content may validate the feelings of men who experience such stress by affirming that their struggles are due to societal shifts away from traditional gender roles. So basically it's pouring gasoline on a smoldering fire. These men already feel inadequate, insecure, and rejected, and then they listen to content that feeds their ego and says, oh, poor baby, it's not you, it's those women, it's those damn women and their rights to basically live and have body autonomy. They're to blame. This leads me to link number 2, attribution of blame. So some red pill, I would say actually all red pill and manosphere narratives, may attribute men's gender role stress and related challenges to the advancement of women's rights and feminism, suggesting that these movements have undermined men's traditional roles in society. This can lead to reinforcing cycle where the stress of not meeting traditional masculine expectations is blamed on external changes. They have an external locus of control rather than addressed in a constructive manner, meaning having an internal locus of control, meaning looking their asses in the mirror and assessing that, hey, I need to fix my shit. I need to get my life together. They don't do that. Another link that I see is like seeking solutions within a very constrained framework. Men experiencing masculine gender role stress might turn to manosphere content for solutions. However, since this content often emphasizes doubling down on traditional masculinity rather than exploring a broader range of masculine identities, it can reinforce the very stressor it seeks to alleviate. That's like somebody being on drugs and they go because they're experiencing withdrawal symptoms, they go and have another hit of that drug. It just takes them deeper into their addiction. Same thing, men who listen to red pill manosphere content already, to me, have a high level of masculine, masculine gender role stress. So it's emphasizing and going deeper into the fact that it's everybody else's fault, external locus of control, it's those damn women, the fact that they can, read, write, eat shit, get an education, do with the things they want to do with their own lives, and they can have control of their body. They're the reason I'm not doing well in life. And then instead of saying, hey, my guy, look at yourself, look what you're doing, and see where you can move and pivot and do things differently to contribute toward your own success. So another link that I also see between the two is impact on behavior and attitude. So exposure to red pill and manosphere ideologies can shape how men experiencing gender role stress perceive themselves and others, potentially leading to more rigid adherence to traditional gender norms, increased sexism, and in some cases, justification for aggressive or violent behaviors as means of asserting masculinity. We have a lot of mass shootings that have happened where in the past, I would even say 10 years, where there were manifestos left by these very young men in most cases that had a lot of hatred, filled with hatred, usually racism, usually sexism, a lot of anger and hatred toward women or their perceived rejection by women. So like them listening to this stuff is not helping them. It is causing them more pain. And then this content is just everywhere. So even guys that were like, okay, and really wanted to work on their stuff and were open to it, they're listening to content that's constantly blaming someone else for their issues. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't specific things that may impact men at times in their lives that may be related to, gender, and they may be disadvantaged in that thing. I'm not saying that. That is a valid point, but that's one point. If you go on something like Reddit, you can see all the hateful incels, and, they have their own vocabulary, which is actually how people start to get indoctrinated into things, because they're othering women. And so when you no longer see women as human, then I can hate you, I can destroy you, I can do these things to you because I don't see you as human any longer. And that's what this content does for the men who fall into it. And so it's important to note that while some may find community and a sense of understanding within these red pill manosphere spaces, the solutions offered can sometimes exacerbate feelings of isolation, aggression, and dissatisfaction. And it usually does, because it's an echo chamber. That information that they're consuming, that hate speech, I'm going to call it is what it is, it's not helping them grow in any way, shape, or form. So researchers and mental health professional advocates should really be the source that these men go to for help in understanding what they're going through, to unpack their shit, to unpack their own insecurities, to address, masculine gender role stress that involve, broadening their understanding of masculinity, promoting emotional intelligence and resilience, and developing healthy coping mechanisms, especially with men in rejection. So I really enjoyed this article because I feel a lot of women in our dating journey, we have faced maybe not actual violence from a partner, but we have faced situations where we were dating a man, and he just was not maybe where he wanted to be in life, and he was feeling some of the impacts. Could have been of isolation, could have been of ostracism, could have been of lack of achievement, could have been of insecurity, and how that played out just on his mood and behavior, just on a small scale. We're not talking about actual abuse. And then there's some women who've actually experienced, horrifying things with being abused by a partner. And it's really important. The more you know, the more you can, the more educated you are about abuse and violence and the things that something like masculine gender role stress, the more I would say shrewd is the word I really want to use, especially at our big age. The more shrewd you can be when you're out in these dating streets and you are seeing, okay, do I want to rock with this man or not? And very early on, if you see signs that are giving you, red flags, you can say no and cut it off because you already understand what's happening there. So these are just my thoughts. I thought it was a really interesting article and read, and I really wanted to bring up the points of where I see alignment between masculine gender role stress and red pill manosphere content, and how it's honestly like gasoline being thrown upon a fire. So, men who are suffering from the masculine gender role stress are that is the small fire brewing. And then the red pill manosphere content is like sloshing gasoline on that shit. And eventually you're going to have something that's unruly and out of control. And I think we see that more and more each day with how men are behaving with women, from openly assaulting women to, sexually assaulting women, to the vitriol we see online. So it's definitely an easy link to observe once you understand what is the catalyst for what. So that's all I have for now. Definitely give me your thoughts below, and let me know what you think of the article. Thank you for joining me today for this episode of Blogs and Articles, Breaking the Silence: How Social Ostracism Escalates into Intimate Partner Violence. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check out the links in the description box below to sign up for my next 5-day self-awareness and dating challenge. Also, check out my podcast, The Successful Invisible, next season publishing soon on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Until next time, this is your coach, Janelle. Stay empowered and see you on the next article or blog post.